What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Too Good for Theaters video. The Patriots go down to Miami and are awarded a 34-15 loss, and even that score doesn't reflect how much of a dominating win this was for Miami over the Patriots. So let's get right into this breakdown. So starting the game on the offensive end here, the New England Patriots really struggled in the trenches in particular, whether it was run blocking and pass protection wise. This offensive line was getting used and abused by this Miami Dolphins front seven. In particular, Chop Robinson and Calais Campbell, it seemed like we're getting pressures at will. And Vidarian Lowe and Demontre Jacobs, whether it was giving up pressures or sacks on the day, or really just kind of penalties, in-game penalties, or pre-snap penalties, really had themselves an absolute terrible day. And the offensive line really kind of just did not have a successful day in any regard today. They struggled to kind of communicate, and once again, the interior of the offensive line kind of struggled a little bit with some stunts that Miami ran. In particular, I believe it was actually the one where Drake May actually fumbled the ball and the Miami Dolphins were able to recover. It looked like Vidarian Lowe and Michael Jordan actually had a little bit of a confusion on who was going to block the defensive end on the Miami Dolphins there. And it looked like Miami actually brought someone down into the box. I believe it might have been a linebacker, and it looked like he might have been blitzing. So Vidarian Lowe thought that he would kind of pick up that guy, and Michael Jordan would actually pick up the end. However, that guy actually dropped back in coverage, and Vidarian Lowe was kind of a little late in shifting over, and the defensive end was really able to get a lot of interior pressure there and get, honestly, a straight line to Drake May, which ultimately Drake May was unable to hold on to that football there. It looked like he was trying to get rid of it, but that was just a really poor play on the offensive line in general. And the run protection or the run blocking was not much better. Really struggled to get any bit of momentum on the ground outside of that second drive on the day. And frankly, the only kind of rushing yards that this Patriots team were able to get was later in the game. And they really did have to abandon the run quite early in this matchup, being down multiple scores there. And it was honestly probably a good thing that they abandoned the run, because they were unable to really have anything get going for them in the ground game, which sucks because this team is at its best when it's multidimensional, and that's kind of how Alex Van Pelt wants to call these type of games. But when you get down that early and your offensive line just not getting any kind of push in the run blocking standpoint there, it's going to be real difficult for your offense to generate anything on the ground there. And in this game, you really just saw how much of a weight is on Drake May's shoulders right now with this offense. They only actually ended up having 7 points on the day, and really their one time that they ended up scoring was more so a miscommunication on the back end by the Dolphins. But it was just a really nice job by Drake May kind of extending the play once again, scrambling outside the pocket and hitting Austin Hooper, of all people, down the field there. Real nice job by Austin Hooper kind of sensing how Miami's secondary was more so in the scramble scenario there, and really kind of just got behind the defenders, made himself a nice catch, and was able to get into the end zone there. But other than that play, this Patriots offense was really dead for most of the day. And I actually have a stat. I believe 80 of their 83 yards was actually, or in the first half at least, was actually on their second drive. And in that second drive, they did not end up scoring. It was actually the drive that I believe Joey Sly actually missed that field goal there. So to have 80 of your 83 yards on one drive in which you don't even score really just summarizes how poor of a first half it was for New England. And the reason why that drive had as many yards as it did was because of the pre-snap penalties of guys like Demontre Jacobs as well as Vidarian Lowe. And I believe you could actually throw in a holding call against one of the two in there as well. But, I mean, it was just really a poor first half by this Patriots offense. And they did look a little better in the second half, but still they were not able to put up any amounts of points against Miami. And Drake May, once again, having a little bit of trouble holding on to the ball and keeping the ball in this team's possession here. But the offensive line certainly did not help him whatsoever on the day. And it really was just a lot of a struggle there for this Patriots offense. And in particular, I really didn't even kind of see where they were just being actually taken advantage of other than the offensive line. I thought that the receivers were doing a good job of kind of fighting through some physical pressure by the Miami corners there, and Drake May had himself a pretty solid day, I would say, throwing through the air once again, going through his reads. Honestly, just on that interception, though. I mean, it was one heck of a play by, I believe it was Daughtry on the defensive line there by the Miami Dolphins. Kind of plucked it out of the air with one hand and hauled it in. Really nice play on his part there, but that's one of those where you just kind of got to throw it away if you can. And I understand you kind of have to make a play every single time for this offense to have success there, but sometimes you just got to throw the ball away, and especially in that scenario, you're not going to win the game whatsoever, so I don't have necessarily too much of a problem of trying to make a play there, but that's something as he continues to grow, I'm sure he will learn. Just sometimes having to cut your losses there and not even put this team into a further hole with creating another turnover there for Miami to take advantage of. But as I said before, Drake May just has to do so much with his offense right now, and really he is just the best source of any kind of success that this offense has, which speaks to how this front office really does have to approach this offseason. Drake May looks a lot better, or at least he is accelerating the timeline of how this team needs to attack this offseason, because he is a legit NFL pro. And honestly, I would not be surprised next year if he is a top 10 quarterback in this league. He has advanced that quickly. He looks that good. You know, it's not only from his physical standpoints, but from his mental standpoints as well. It looks like the game is just coming a lot easier to him, especially over the past 2 weeks, with how quickly he's going through his progressions and how on time and on target he's been with the majority of his throws and establishing a little bit of chemistry with these receivers. Demario Douglas had himself a pretty solid day. Hunter Henry, once again, his kind of go-to target. The tight ends, once again, having a nice day. Kendrick Bourne had a couple nice catches. Had a real nice contested catch against Jalen Ramsey where he actually worked his way back to the football and was able to break a tackle and get some extra yardage there. But as I said before, it really is on Drake May to account for so much of this team's offensive success. So it is going to have to accelerate how this team approaches this offseason, because Drake May is legit, and I do think that he has a chance to be a winning player, or he might already be a winning player just surrounded by guys who really can't help him take that next step just because he elevates everyone around him. And it's really encouraging to see how Drake May has continued to improve from a week-to-week basis, but unfortunately there might just be a limit of what he's able to do with the talent around him. Also, kind of going back to the offensive play calling in this game, honestly, I didn't have much of a problem with how Alex Van Pelt kind of approached this game and how he was really calling the game as it went on here. It was just the offensive line was absolutely just putting this team, setting this team back at a constant rate that I'm not sure that he could have really done much better. It's not like he was even having every single play be designed to throw the ball 20 yards down the field. No, he at times there was max protection on, and Miami was getting pressure and getting to the quarterback when they were only setting 4. So there's not really much that an offensive play caller can do when your offensive line is absolutely getting abused like they did today. And really the only thing that you really can do is you have to get the ball off within 1 to 2 seconds, which is going to allow these defensive backs to jump these routes. And frankly, you don't have the receivers to get open that quickly in this league right now. So when the offensive line plays like that and the defensive line of Miami's having that much success, it really does kind of handicap what this offensive play calling or this offensive staff can call there. And you really saw kind of the frustrations with Alex Van Pelt today. I felt like that he was not able to really kind of use his arsenal on the day just because of the lack of the run game, as well as just the quarterback constantly getting hit within 3 seconds of a dropping back. So I don't put much stock into Alex Van Pelt's play calling today. I think that he honestly did the best that he could with how the Miami defense was kind of teeing off on Drake May on the day. And when you put them in max protection and they're only getting pressure with 4, that kind of summarizes how much you're really going to have success on the day offensively. So I don't put much stock into Alex Van Pelt having a little bit of a rough day, or at least this offense. I don't put it on Alex Van Pelt whatsoever. I put it more so on the players on the field. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball, they did not fare much better on the day than the offense did. And stop if you heard me say this before, the Patriots' inability to generate consistent pressure really handicaps this defense, not only from a scheme protection sense, but just more so in every area. And it puts so much pressure on this secondary for guys like Christian Gonzalez, Marcus Jones, the safeties, Kyle Duggar, and Marte Mapu, as well as Jonathan Jones, to have to cover the 4 to 5 seconds on every play. It is extremely difficult for these guys to really kind of cover on the back end. There's two good athletes in this league, especially when they're going up against Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in particular, for them to really have any bit of success when Tua has a strong pocket to throw from and having 4 to 5 seconds on damn near every play to really put accurate balls there. And the Patriots' inability to really generate any pressure, only got 2 sacks on the day. And honestly, those 2 sacks were probably coverage sacks. I believe they came from Christian Barmore, which was definitely a coverage sack with Tua actually stepping up in the pocket, but nice job by Christian Barmore to bring him down. And Christian Gonzalez actually, I believe, kind of jumped on one of the underneath routes, which kind of forced Tua to really pump and then try and extend the play. But Barmore was able to get his first sack on the season, so that was nice to see. And even the one, the Brendan Schooler sack was more so, it was actually a blitz from Brendan Schooler on the edge, but I mean, Tua was rolling away from Brendan Schooler and still had at least like 4 to 5 seconds to throw the ball. And luckily, the defensive backs did a real nice job in coverage against that play. But, I mean, like I said before, if you can't get pressure on these quarterbacks, you saw it last week with Matthew Stafford, and you saw it again this week with Tua absolutely having a day. And Jalen Waddle is really uncoverable on the day. And it really just puts a ton of pressure on your secondary. And another guy who had a really good day was Jonnu Smith, of course, former Patriot Jonnu Smith. Would have liked to see him play like that here, but it is a little bit of a different scheme, and they're using him in different ways than how the Patriots used him. And the Patriots actually started off, I believe, what they did for the game was actually kind of either assigning Marte Mapu or Kyle Duggar to kind of guard him in man. And Marte Mapu actually had a really nice break on the ball early on in this game against Jonnu Smith. He might have gotten there a smidge bit early, but I thought that was a good no call, especially how it was, I believe it was behind the line to gain for a first down on third down. So I was really excited to see how Marte Mapu was able to kind of match up against Jonnu Smith early on in this game, but the Patriots were forced to more so kind of play zone and kind of abandon that man matchup just because they were unable to get any bit of pressure on Tua on the day. So the defense really did struggle through the air today, and it's not a surprise. Tua had all day to throw, and with Miami's offense, how they're able to kind of create all these open looks through the uses of motion and stuff like that, whether it's going to be disguising or like kind of having a kind of edge against the Patriots, whether it's man or zone through those motion plays. It becomes an extremely difficult offense to stop if you cannot get pressure. And especially when on early downs where the Patriots were not able to force a lot of negative plays on the day. I will say, however, they did a much better job than in the first matchup against Miami of containing the run. And I do think that with Devon Godchaux and Christian Barmore up the middle once more, I do think that this is a much better run defense. Anthony Jennings had a pretty solid day on the edge there of kind of keeping that contained unit there and forcing them to run inside the tackles where you have your more bigger guys like Devon Godchaux, Christian Barmore, and Jeremiah Farms, who had a pretty solid day in the run game. But like I said before, unfortunately, we're unable to get any bits of pressure there. And it's interesting to see how this team continues to use Brendan Schooler here. Today, they actually had him in there for a multitude of packages. Sometimes he was playing zone coverage where he was kind of playing a little bit of that linebacker role / slot corner role. And I believe it was actually on a play where Jalen Waddle actually made a nice catch in between Brendan Schooler and Marcus Jones down the field on just a really nice pass by Tua. But they're using him in some zone coverage schemes as well as sending him in on a extra blitzer, very similar to how they kind of used him as a spy a couple weeks ago. I believe it might have been on Caleb Williams. So that's interesting to see if they continue to use Brendan Schooler on the defensive end today. And Jelani Tavai had a couple solid plays behind the line of scrimmage, and there were times where this Patriots defense did force some negative plays early on, but they just dug themselves in such a deep hole that they really were unable to stop Miami's offense on the day, and Miami got pretty conservative, more so in that second half there. And the Patriots were able to generate a turnover on the day. However, it really was just more so a Miami fuck-up. Like, the Patriots did nothing there really. I do think that they defended that run pretty well, but I mean, anytime the quarterback and running backs kind of mishandle a snap, that's really on them. It's not much on your defense. So they did end up getting a defensive score on the day, but it wasn't as a result of anything that this defense did. So DeMarcus Covington has to start making adjustments or has to start sending more players in to get some pressure on these quarterbacks because he's letting his defense get picked apart by only sending 4 when they cannot generate constant pressure, especially when one of your better pass rushers on the day, like Deatrice Wise, are not on the field. You have to send more guys or have to get more creative in getting pressure against these quarterbacks. All right, everyone, that's going to wrap up this breakdown. I believe the Patriots moved to 3-9 on the season, and next week are taking on the Indianapolis Colts in Gillette. So hopefully they can bounce back. But once again, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you all next time.